Constantine, a Hellblazer podcast.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hell Talk. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Hoku.
Hey, everyone.
And just a little heads up, I'm a little under the weather, so if my voice sounds weird, that is why.
Cold season got you.
I know. There's always like 1 week of the year I get sick, and it's usually during the winter time. But yeah, so we read Hellblazer issues 140, I read Hellblazer issue 146 to 156, and we're going to talk about them. So,
and I listened to them.
Yeah, and you listen to them. So, very interesting run. This is the beginning of the Brian Azzarello run. And are you familiar with him as a writer, or do you know any of the works he's done?
I think he wrote a Joker comic.
Yes, he did Joker with Lee Bermejo on art.
Yes, I did read that one.
And he also did one called Luther that was the same style.
Oh, I think I have that one. And I can't remember if I read it. And it's just been so long that I've forgotten that I read it or I never read it. But I have both of those physically.
Oh, okay.
I remember the Joker one really well because it came out like right at the same time that like the Dark Knight did, only he wrote it obviously way before that because, you know, to publish it took a lot of time. So then when like that picture of Heath Ledger came out and he had the scars on his face, I remember that guy being like, are you kidding me? Like that was literally the cover of his.
That's my fucking design.
Yeah, it was one of those moments of like, you know, the irony of two ideas colliding at the same time. So he was like, I'm going to forever be known as the guy who like, quote unquote, copied the Dark Knight style when, you know, we came up with this years ago and it's just taken this long for it to come out. But I remember that like being a whole big thing at the time. So I got the book because I wanted to see what it was all about. Like, is it just a copy of the Dark? No, it's not. It's an amazing story, a messed up story. I really loved it. So I was like excited to actually know one of the writers for once, to know his work at least. And yeah, I was looking forward to this run.
Yeah, this is definitely like so there are some things just right off the bat. Brian Azzarello, one of my favorite writers. He did for me the stuff that I like that he did is like he wrote 100 Bullets, which is a really good series, I thought. And just generally I like his writing style, attitude. He's very like I think he's co-writing with like Frank Miller on the new like Dark Knight stuff that came out over the last couple of years. So I'm assuming so it's a little bit more coherent feeling than, or like not coherent, but just well written, more readable than some of Frank Miller's newer stuff.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, he did like the Master Race Dark Knight 3 with Frank Miller. So like Miller, I think, wrote the plot and stuff and all that, and then he wrote the dialogue, or Azzarello wrote the dialogue. So I think, I could be wrong, I don't know how they collaborate, but Frank Miller's really like, he's my spiritual successor or something, you know, like that's kind of how he views Azzarello. So
oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And then otherwise, like basically just with Azzarello, you know, you're going to get possibly like urban environments, people fighting in gangs or something like that. You know, violence, racism, just gritty street level stuff is usually what you're going to expect with Azzarello, which could fit into Hellblazer. But it's also interesting because Azzarello is American and he is the first American to write Hellblazer. So did you notice anything about John that was a little different? Because he's not, you know, in this, at least he took him out of Britain. He put him in America, which makes him a little bit easier to write by an American. But did you have any issues with that?
I thought it was an interesting choice, probably the best choice to start off with, which is to take John out of a city that he probably didn't want to have to write every other person talking with a British accent and with, British colloquialisms, and to throw him into a more familiar scenario, apparently, which is prison, so that apparently is something that he felt he could write really well, an American prison. Why not? Sure. I was down with it because it's not like the first time John's ever been in an unusual situation. He's visited America before. He's also been all over the world too. So no, I didn't really have any issues with putting him in an unfamiliar situation in a different country. I was curious to find out how he got there, because I felt like that would be in some interesting gymnastics to get him into the prison system.
It is.
Like that couldn't have been an easy sell, first of all. So he had to really be able to back it up. And I'm sure he's like, so John's in prison. And they're like, okay, no, he's in an American prison. Okay, wait.
Continue.
Wow. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue. Exactly. So, yeah, premise. I'm okay with it. I'm willing to see where it goes, and it went to some interesting places.
It definitely did. These first two arcs, at least. We'll find out later on with the other stuff. But yeah, did you notice anything like, oh, John sounding weird or anything because an American's writing him, or did he feel okay?
I think he still felt like John. I mean, we're coming off of a weird sort of John that didn't really believe in magic, and
right, yeah, with the Alice right.
Yeah, so like just a transition from a John who either didn't believe in magic or didn't think that magic was real in the sense that other people could do magic. That weird sort of John, to this John who at least seems a bit more straightforward in his magic use, which was new. Just that in general was new, but at least he was back to a John that was like, yes, I can do magic. I don't even have to do flashy stuff. I can just make people shit themselves or whatever,
This is my favorite kind of magic, actually, like that John does. Not the shitting themselves, but like just the like really covert, like under the table magic that's like, it's not flashy. Because nowadays you see John and he's pulling fireballs out of his palms and he's got pentagrams in the fucking air and like red, lights or whatever. And I'm like, okay. That's like more of a literal magician. And John is always kind of like, he's the con man in the back alley that's playing, 3-card Monty and tricking people, kind of a magician. Not a circus magician or whatever, like
street magician.
Yeah, he's a street magician. So he should have I liked this where he's like doing stuff in the background. He's got machinations happening. He's got an idea about how he's going to get out of places. And you kind of have to figure out what he's doing as it goes through the art or through, the story as it reveals itself. But yeah, at least with this first arc, the prison arc, that really, to me, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good interpretation of the like way I like, at least, to see John's magic, and it's not like flashy and all that stuff.
I agree. I thought that this John at least still had his swagger, still had his sort of like fuck around and find out attitude. He had that very like haughty John feeling to him, which I dug that. I thought that felt very John-esque. And I think the fact that the only British person he had to worry about, Azzarello, was John, because everyone else around him, he could write however he wanted, because they're all Americans, essentially. I think it worked in his favor. He put him in a situation that he felt more comfortable with, yet still managed to keep him John-esque. So I was okay with it, yeah. I will say the situation was surprising.
Yeah, the way that he is introduced is kind of crazy and interesting, but like in this prison system. But before we get to the prison arc, just as an aside, There was the Vertigo Secret Files issue with the like narration and stuff. What did you think of that issue? Was it fun to have Delano's story again?
That was a trippy story, and I will say, as someone who loves both books and comics, the fact that it was a prose story, like that tickled me. I enjoyed that a lot because a lot of times you wonder, comic book writers, they're used to writing sort of scripts, so it's not really as drawn out as a story would be. So it's kind of interesting to see someone who normally writes scripts for comics actually write out a full story in prose without the use of pictures, as sort of like that help to help the story along. So I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's like, in Watchmen when he has all those extras, the newspaper articles, the excerpts from the book. And if you're just a comic book fan and not a book fan, you find all that shit tedious. You're just like, oh, words, why do I have to read all these words? So I could see someone like that picking up this issue and being like, oh, words, where's the picture? And then of course the back half had that cute little Nergal comic, right? That was on the back half, right?
It was in the back half, and I think that was actually considered the first Azzarello stuff. So,
okay. So yeah, I would say that I personally, as a book lover, really enjoyed the prose story. I thought it flowed really well. I thought it was really interesting and mysterious and kind of gross. Which totally gross, fits with Hellblazer. It's kind of gross. And also it was all like just hilarious, the situation itself with the guy and believing that he had been cursed. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Just thinking he'd been cursed, like, I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
You gotta get
I know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So oh yeah, that was so gross.
I'm glad he got his though. So
Yeah, me too. So I enjoyed that one a lot. That was fun. That was really fun.
Yeah, I agree. That one was really good. I mean, Delano just knows how to write John to a T. So, I was like, hell yeah. Like, new Delano story? Fuck yeah. This is awesome.
And John was barely even in that story. It was mostly about the lady woman, and the guy. So I thought that was a really neat way to do it as well. Because sometimes, especially with Ellis's run, when John's just like a side character in his own, in the story, it can feel like there wasn't enough John in there, right? But in this one, it actually felt really appropriate for him to be sort of like this mythical being almost.
Yeah, because the guy's like building him up in his head, right? Like,
this untouchable figure. So I thought that worked really well to have both like a story that's more about like John from afar, yet it still feels so like John just feels like such a big part of the story still. So it was great.
Agreed. I really liked that story a lot. And I was like, man, I wish Delano and DC would like let Delano write a John Hellblazer book, like an actual prose book. That would be sick. But
oh, that would be so cool. I can only imagine the sort of stories he would tell if he had that ability to just kind of go wild.
I have heard a future writer, the guy that writes the run after Azzarello, his name is Mike Carey. He's got a book series. I can't remember what they're called, but where it's John, but not legally John. Like what it's his version of like John in prose form, basically. So
John inspired.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check those out. So put them on my list. But yeah. So and then we had the second half of that issue. We had the cigarette story about John's first smoke. What'd you think of that little fun issue?
I always find it so interesting when they manage to take characters who, in this case, John and Nergal, who've known each other, that we've known that they've known each other for what we assumed was like the beginning of their relationship was when they met the first time, right? So to take something like that and sort of add this little extra history to where I don't think John never figured this out. Like he doesn't know, but because Nergal is like a demon and probably has an amazing memory and has lived so long, he knows who John actually is. And I thought it was so funny to see their history of like how they first met. Because then if you go back and like read the story when they, meet when John's an adult, it actually probably has some, maybe even some little layers in there that you wouldn't even think about.
I thought it was fun just because, you have the, like you said, the like return of Nergal, who we haven't seen in a very long time. And then it's like the beginning of him smoking, which is a very big plot point in John's future history, we know, because he gets cancer. And then, like you said, Nergal, I think Nergal has been following John since then. Like, I think he's aware and like knows who he's going to become or something because he's supernatural and whatnot. So I think he knows that. So that's why maybe he did that to try to kill John too. Maybe it was like a plot to like kill John. We don't know that part. That's just me.
The long game. He plays the long game.
But is it a long game for a demon? I mean, demons live forever, in hell or whatever. So
this is true. That is probably more just like the quick game.
Felt like a week.
But quicker.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, so that's the Vertigo Secret Files. I thought was like a fun little, one-shot issue. And I figured, I'm not sure when it came out, like in the reading order. I thought it was before, but on DC, I thought it was the order that I put it in. But then on the DC app, they put it after the prison arc. So I'm like, I don't know when this was supposed to have come out. But I thought it was supposed to come out before.
I think it fits the way you did it. It is a good transition.
Yeah, and that's so the DC app has it there, but then like DCFandom.com or whatever on Hellblazer has it where I put it. So I'm like, I don't know where it was supposed to be, but somewhere around the beginning of the Azzarello run is where it was supposed to be. So, yeah. Now, one thing everybody notices off the bat with the first, the prison arc is the art is different than anything that has ever been in Hellblazer. What do you think of Richard Corbett's art?
Yeah. It was not my favorite.
I knew it wasn't going to be because you are not like a Frank Quietly fan, and he is definitely of that school of making people like ugly and weird looking.
Yeah. I think it worked for the ugliness of the story, but I can't say that I enjoyed it whenever I saw the panels, like it works. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. I'll tell you what he's really good at drawing, though. Big ladies.
Yes.
Ladies with large breastises.
Yes. Yeah, those panels are quite nice that you included those.
Well,
in the previews.
In the Patreon. The Patreon pays for it, so I get to throw in all the good stuff, It
is much appreciated to break up all the, masculine energy that is in these comics.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just love that there's one issue where it's like they literally just watch a woman like do a strip tease or whatever while they're talking, and it was just like, this is like ridiculous, but also like fits somehow, and I can't believe they were able to like get this scene in for Richard Corbin to draw, which I'm sure he loved. Yeah,
that scene was really funny because it had to be like, they'd be talking and then pause, admire, continue talking, pause, admire, like
mid-word, like, oh.
Yeah. What were we talking about? All right. That was pretty funny. There's so few times you can visually do that. That works. And I thought that was pretty good. And
like to make it fit in the story, it's like, how does that work? But they did it. So I was happy for it as a reader,
I also appreciated the humor and the art.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was like a nice little funny thing in the middle of it too. So with this, we're just kind of thrown into the John's in prison story arc. Like you had mentioned, it's a good way to isolate John in America. So that probably worked in the writer's favor. But like, what do you think of like just the cold open of he's in prison? Did you think there needed to be any more build up before that, or do you like it when like when a new writer takes over? Do you want it to literally flow like that didn't happen, like it's the same writer from the last run, or do you want there to be like this is different, bam?
I think it depends on what the writer chooses to do, because sometimes there are moments when it just sort of flowed. It'd be like John's walking down the street reminiscing about the stuff that just happened to him as like the icebreaker. And other times it's like this, he's just completely into a new situation. So I think I don't really care if it's done well. I think either way works. So in this case, I think his choice to just throw John into a whole new situation that both he and we had no idea. Well, obviously he knows, but we have no idea how he got there. And for the most part, we don't even know if John knows how he got there until he makes that comment where he's just like, I actually did something horrible. I forget exactly what he says, but he admits, yes, I'm here on purpose. We're like, oh shit. So he's not just like doing this to get to somebody or to, do something magical. He literally, at least we assume, did something bad enough to end up in prison for real. So that was a great sort of teaser to have him acknowledge that he's like, yes, I'm here on purpose. I did something horrible. And you're like, oh God, he's done so much horrible shit. What could he possibly have done that he actually ends up in prison?
Yeah, that they catch him with,
Right? Like he's never been caught with all the other horrible shit he's done. Why this time? What's different? So that was really intriguing. I enjoyed that sort of a cliffhanger feeling to it. It did make me want to know more. I wasn't expecting how long it would take to actually learn what he did. There's a lot of just messing around in the prison. The guy's trying to get John and John sort of protecting himself. Very rarely was he the aggressor in the situation, which I think also fits his, because he's really only a back me into a corner and I fight back sort of person. So I thought that fit too.
Yeah. It is like a big change, but I think I mentioned this before, but this was my first Hellblazer comic that I've ever read, this first arc. And so it was like, it was kind of, I always wondered like what happened before this. And then when I read the Warren Ellis run, I was like, oh, like something completely, like I thought it set it up or something, but like, no, just out of the blue, he's in prison kind of thing. And I kind of like that. Like it automatically changes the status quo for the reader of like, how it's going to be from in this run or something, like this is what I can do. Like it shows the reader like, okay, we're in for a different type of ride with John in this one.
In prison in America too. So even if people didn't know that the writer was American and wasn't British, still just putting him in a completely new situation, I'm sure they were like, whoa, what are they going to do with him here?
Right. But also one of the things that's interesting is that John seems perfectly at home in prison. He's very nonchalant about the whole, I guess, system that's there in place where like, you got to pay cigarettes and all that stuff. And if not, you owe money or you owe something, and that kind of thing. So it's like he's there because he's like, okay, because he's paying penance for whatever happened. But then like he also seems at home perfectly here as well with all this shit going on. Did you feel like he fit into that like environment well? Because he is so like just taking it, he's going with the flow. And did you feel like him kind of being so nonchalant or naive at the beginning? Like, did that make sense? Or were you like, oh, he's got something up his sleeve?
Well, I just realized that it kind of mirrors when he checked himself into the asylum.
After Ravenscar?
Yeah, it kind of like I just thought of it, that him sort of, that when you mentioned paying penance, that's kind of why he went to Ravenscar, right? Because after everything that happened with Astra, and after everything that happened with her, he kind of did the same thing where he's just like, I just did a horrible thing. I need to pay for it. I'm going to go here, and everything that happens to me in there, like I deserve. I think this was sort of a different thing where, yeah, he went to prison. Yeah, he's sort of paying penance, but also at the same time, he's not necessarily allowing himself to get hurt in the same way he did at Ravenscar. Like there, they just like beat on him and kind of terrorized him, right? In like all the orderlies and stuff. Like he went through some horrible things. So when he put himself there, he kind of also took everything that was thrown at him. But in this instance, he really didn't take any shit, except for that one time when like the guard beat him up. So I think in this way, he was sort of like just saying, I deserve to be here. But at the same time, he was like, I don't deserve to get, raped. I'm going to not allow that to happen to myself. But I'm still here. Like I'm paying my dues. I'm punishing myself. But there's a line that I'm not willing to cross. I feel bad, but not that bad. So yeah, I thought it was a really, I don't know, just an interesting position to put him in, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like he's in control. He's there of his own accord. But then like one thing I've heard of like a criticism of this arc, because I will say I think the Azzarello run is considered like the most contentious run of Hellblazer because it's so different. Like he's in America, he's in the South, he's in prison, he's and he does stuff that people don't like as much, or they don't think is John. And one of those things is like in prison, there's a lot of racism. Everybody's broken into different groups, usually by their race and stuff. And John just kind of goes with it. But like in my mind, I'm like, he's going with it because that's the culture in prison and he kind of has to. What is he going to do, But it's not like he's condoning any of it. But I've heard people later on, there's some more racist stuff that John kind of similarly goes with. And I would argue like, oh, it's because of, he's trying to not reveal his cards. It's not that he's like agreeing with the stuff or anything. He even might say like totally to like the guy who's saying racist stuff, but it's just because he's trying to move the conversation along and get away from the situation, or get a one up in the situation. So like, did you feel that at all? Like it was too much or over the top with him?
No, I thought he was just sort of going along with it to, keep from getting, shivved or whatever. So, if this guy's going to say like all this horrible shit about people as he's giving him a tour, he's probably gonna be like, yeah, fine. Now I know. or later on when they have conversations, although he does in some, like, wasn't there one group that comes up to him and is like, hey, we like what you did to those guys in the showers. You're one of us. And he's just like, no, I'm not. Fuck off. So like that's an obvious like thing to show that John is not actually like these guys. He was merely going along with things as they were because he's adjusting and he doesn't want to get, murdered right out. But when push comes to shove, he has a line and he draws it. So he's just like, no, I'm not one of you. Like get away from me.
Yeah. He is not joining the Aryan Brotherhood in prison, to just to be safe. Because also, like, he knows he can keep himself safe, but
right. He didn't really join anyone when the first guy, I forget what his name was showing him around and being quote unquote friendly to him. He was just going with it because he was like, all right, this guy wants to like get me on his good side or get me into his, cigarette like scheme. Sure. Whatever. I know that if push comes to shove, I don't, I can say, no, you know what? Just give me more cigarettes. Yeah, I'm not going to pay you back. Give me more cigarettes. Like he can hold his own. So he's friendly to a point. But when it comes to like outright being like, you're one of us, he's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, at least in this arc, I feel like it's very obvious what's happening. Like he's just kind of playing along to get along and to like get his one up on everybody. Because by the end of the first issue where like everybody's shitting themselves that he owed cigarettes to, I was like, okay, like I like this. I like this John where he's like able to hold his own in prison, and now he's got like a mythology building up with all the different groups. Like, did you hear what John did? Kind of thing. And what do you think of that like mythology with the prison?
Oh, I thought that was great. He's kind of putting it's sort of like that John Wick, like boogeyman sort of character of like, you know what he did? He can do this. And, oh, you know, they tried to feed him glass and instead like his brother ate all the glass. It's like, I don't even know how he switched the bowls. Like, obviously he just, you know, switched the bowls. Like, there's no way. I saw him put the bowls down right in front of him and he didn't even like eat, but he ate it all. And yet my brother died. And so, yeah, all that stuff was really great for his own sort of like legend of just how badass he is and how terrifying he is when he decides to use magic in ways that we haven't seen before. Like, I didn't know that he could literally take cigarettes and as they're burning down, those people. So I thought they were going to burst into flames because, you know, cigarettes burning. I thought it was like, oh, they're clutching their stomachs and they're going to like burst into fire or something. So the fact that all he did was make them like, you know, shit themselves or whatever, I thought it was going to be way, way worse. But maybe he was holding back. So maybe he just kind of wanted like to just little bits of his power there, here and there, like with the thumbprints. That was that was also really cool.
I liked that because it was so subtle in the art. They would just like focus in on the little smudge in the background, and you're like, "What is that?" And then like you're like, "It's got to be John doing something." And when it's finally revealed, like, what's going on, I'm like, oh, like, this is, okay, this is really, like, cool way for him, like, a subtle use of magic. It's not the bombastic way he is now with, like, in the Justice League Dark or whatever, where he's pulling out fireballs.
Fireball!
Yeah. I'm like, I absolutely hate that shit. Like, does it look cool, like, on a playing card or something? Yes. I would much rather see him just like whenever they show like, here's a cool image of this character and it's like, you know, you got Superman punching someone or whatever, you know, Batman throwing a batarang, and then it'd be like John smoking a cigarette. Like that's what I would like to see. But they can't do that anymore.
That would 100% be his like trading card of like, John uses smoke cigarette.
Yes.
What happens? Guy bursts into flame. Like absolutely no effort on his part to actually do anything.
I would much rather have that than like fireballs, but whatever. It's what he's become in this new era.
But didn't he also get sort of like a reboot in his age too? So maybe if he's younger John, maybe that is more of a younger John sort of thing. You know, he was a bit more brash back then.
He was 33 in the beginning of the comics. So, or no, yeah, I think he was 33 or 34 in the, like at the beginning, like issue 1 of Hellblazer. So that's
no, but I mean, like if he got a reboot and he's like in his 20s again, I could see him being a bit more like.
I actually don't know what the
flashy.
reboot, what age the reboot made him, but it couldn't have been that. It couldn't have been too much younger, but whatever.
Because he was all the way up to his like 60s or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he aged with the comic, so by the end of issue 300, he was in his 60s. But then, like, when they de-aged him, I don't know if they went to, like, he's 19-year-old John or whatever, you know? He wasn't in, like, his band. And, like, that's the problem when you de-age him in DC Comics. It's like, dude, I don't know where they're putting him now because all the lore doesn't fit anymore. So, like, it's not like they're redoing the lore. He wasn't in Mucous Membrane in those issues, you know what I mean? He wasn't like some punk who barely knew magic.
Oh, well, I was thinking of it more like a reboot as in they de-age him and so he starts all over again, not like literally goes back into the past.
Right. Well, that's that's what they do, but like it starts over again. But like they don't redo any of the history or anything. If he's 20 now, they're not going to like do their new take on Mucous Membrane or something, you know, or.
Oh, so it's more like a universal reboot.
Yeah. Like I'm not exactly sure. I haven't read those issues. Maybe I will for the podcast. We'll see.
Alternate timelines.
It's annoying, and I just like to pick my own continuities that I like from. I'm like, you know, my John is this John. So
stick with the universe you love.
You know, he changes enough in this, you know, single run of like 300 issues. You know, so I don't think we needed a whole new reboot for him, but I guess they're like, he needs to be hip and cool and not smoke because smoking's bad. So it's like at the end of Constantine.
Oh, yeah.
He starts
chews gum now instead.
I'm like, that's one of my least favorite scenes from that movie. But
maybe number two will readdress that where he decided like I don't like gum. I'm going back to
I
smoking.
would love it if number two starts with him smoking a cigarette and being like, I gave up that gum shit. Like,
That would be awesome.
I figure
You're like,
I could
yes.
fool Satan again, you know.
Did you think that with John using the fingerprints for each different character, or I guess in each different cell, do you think what they went through, because I think everybody went through something different, right? Do you think what each person went through was like the best, worst way to mess with them?
Like what they're seeing and hearing.
Yeah, like how they got messed with. Did you think that each one of those worked, and which one was your favorite?
I did. I really, really liked, when Stark hears his like number two guy making fun of him and talking shit, and then he like goes mad and like kills him. I mean, Trailer's one is deserved. I mean, it's pretty horrific though that he would get like gang raped by everybody in prison that sees him. They see him as like that busty woman from his poster.
I think much like that one issue where that guy was beaten up on what's her name? The girlfriend that John had for a little bit. Well, he didn't use magic, but he got that old lady to do the magic to make that guy slowly turn into a woman. I felt like this was very much a mirror of that. And in this case, as with that case, I was totally cool with it.
As am I. Well, especially because this little arc starts off with like Candy narrating and being like, I get raped by Trailer every day. Like, it's pretty horrific. So for him to go out that way is also horrific, but earned.
I feel very much deserved for that character. I feel I don't feel sorry for him at all. Even when he's like begging the agent, be like, help me, and and the agent's just like, yeah, no, that's not my department. Sorry.
One thing, okay, so the end of this is very interesting. It's revealed, okay, John is there because this guy named Lucky killed himself in front of John, and John feels guilty. And then like the America or the cops or whatever thought John did it, so that's why he went to prison, because he also confessed to it, I think, too. So like the whole thing, like I really liked the like him sitting in the electric chair afterwards. Like at first I was like, why would he? It just felt weird that he's like the king. I'm going to be the king of the prison, and you have to do what I say. And then like once it's revealed, like, oh, the electric chair is on a separate circuit, that would have, like, Frank could have killed you at any point while you were talking and just flipped the switch, because you were like being stupid and had the electric gear on your head. I liked that little twist, or that little like reveal a lot. But it is like an interesting way to end it, because it's just like, okay, he gets let out, and that's the jumping off point for the rest of Azzarello's run. Like, we got to figure out who this SW Manor is, and John is going to go to Doglick. I think because the ghost of Lucky told him to go to Doglick too, like it says on the piece of paper, Doglick. When he's hallucinating and seeing ghosts when he's in like solitary confinement, he gets handed by Lucky a piece of paper that says Doglick. And then also I think he just wants to like pay respects to Lucky's wife, or like clear the air or something. But that's like the jumping off point. What do you think about like how this arc ended, and like they're like, this is what the whole thing's about, getting SW Manor?
That part was a bit shocking. I had no idea this was actually going to lead to something else. I thought this was going to be its own sort of self-contained arc, especially when you found out that John didn't actually kill the guy. He was just sort of doing this to pay his dues as he saw it. But the fact that it actually led to, what happened to Lucky is actually connected to the guy that they're trying to find. And now they're going to recruit John to be their undercover agent or whatever, or, yeah, I was not expecting that twist at all. I did think it was funny with the chair though, because that reminded me a lot of sort of the situations he puts himself in where he is vulnerable, but at the same time, he has an ace up his sleeve. So it's possible that even though he was in the chair and putting himself in that situation, he still knew that the agent needed him to get to that guy. So I think he was betting on the fact that that guy wouldn't, pull the switch because he's necessary. Otherwise, why would that guy come in the prison to talk to him in the first place?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So sort of like the way he plays Satan, the way he's playing demons before, where he's been in a sort of what seems like the weaker position, but it turns out that he's had the position of strength the whole time. I thought that fit very well with how he works, and just, it fit the character perfectly. And yeah, then I was like, oh, okay, so this is actually going somewhere. That was a surprise. And I was curious to know, so we're doing a road trip now. We go from prison to road trip. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, right. And then we do start off with a road trip. He's hitchhiking in the good intentions arc, going to Doglick. One thing I just want to say that, so the art changes from Corbin to Marcelo Fruchen. And what'd you think of that art change?
I was quite happy with the art change. Yes.
What do you think of Fruchen's art, like with John? Personally, I fucking love it. It's one of my favorite.
I think it's gorgeous. I loved the colors that I don't know if it was him or the colorist.
That's not him, but
whoever. But the colorist, I thought, did a great job, and a lot of the panels that you show with like silhouettes and stuff, I thought they were really, really good.
Yeah, he does a really good like John creeping in the shadows kind of thing, where he's just only like half of his face is ever showing at one moment, and then just like the evil, sinister like smile that he gives John when John is obviously doing something behind the scenes and like he knows something you don't. I love the way he draws John.
Very creepy.
Yeah, and it's weird because Marcelo Fruchen is Argentinian. There's another artist that Azzarello always works with called Edward Riso that is also Argentinian. Very similar style. Like, I thought it was him at first. And then I was like, oh, this is some other person. But Azzarello works with Riso on 100 Bullets. And then he did Hellblazer with this guy. So like with Fruchen. So it was like, oh, he just likes guys who have that style, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it suits his writing.
Yeah. And it's so super clean looking. Like I was like, I really want one of these pages. That would be like fantastic if I could get a Marcelo Fruchen page. Cause he is one of my favorite interpretations of John. Out of all the like kind of the further you get away from the 80s, the cleaner and like more simplified versions of characters you get generally. Cause like, when John Ridgway is doing the art, it's all scratchy and shit, which really fits and looks cool for Hellblazer. But like, the pencil or the ink's all over the page, and there's lots of detail and craziness going on. But then you cut ahead 15 years or whatever, 20 years, and it's like, oh, everybody's kind of like the Bruce Timm version, of John or something. Is like what it kind of looks like, angular, simplified, but it looks fantastic. So I was a big fan of this art.
It was a breath of fresh air after the last one, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and he does like most of the run, I think, after this. So he stayed on it for a good chunk. I personally am a big fan of this whole run. The first issue is my favorite issue. Another run of this first arc. Yeah.
I also thought this first issue was a lot of fun, with John both being that sort of trickster magician that he is. Although I don't really think, well, yeah, oh no, he did use a little bit of, I guess, sleight of body in this issue.
Yeah, he slides down into the floor before the accident. There you go.
Yeah, but this was a really great sort of creepy, almost horror feeling kind of story, very horror thriller-ish, where it wasn't really about demons or anything. It still had that feel of it. It's just really horrible people, like with the prison arc, people doing horrible things. And that's, dark and monstrous in itself without needing any sort of demonic or other interventions in the story.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the theme of Azzarello's take on Hellblazer is like John can use magic if he chooses to, but he's never fights supernatural stuff. It's always bad or horrible people. And if he does use magic, it's usually like little things, not big, gigantic things, you know? So we don't see him doing pentagrams on the floor and like selling souls or anything like that, you know? Which a lot of the stuff we've seen prior, like in Jenkins' run or whatever, you know, where he's tricking Boar and stuff like that, like there is like actual straight up magic happening where it's like, okay, we have to draw a pentagram and here's Aleister Crowley and all that shit, you know.
And do some incantations and all that stuff. But this is very, I agree. It's much more subtle. It's much less. But then again, he's also not exactly going up against Satan or anything. You know, he's not fighting demons. It's against people. So already he has the edge. So I feel like him holding back and not necessarily needing to go all out. Like he didn't open a hell portal, jump out of the car and let it like fall into hell or something. You know what I mean? Like he just sort of tricked these guys into crashing their car.
And I love it. Just the humor in this first issue too, where like John is hitchhiking with the first guy. And he's like, I just got out of prison for murder. Like, and the guy's like, what?
Oh man, that was so great. That was like its own version of a creepypasta. the British, like the British hitchhiker.
Yeah, it was just like really fun. The shots of roadkill are very apropos for the South, at least. Like I live in Texas, and there's always roadkill all over the ground. So, like every street has that, or every road.
That's not creepy at all.
No, but it felt like perfect for the atmosphere that they were setting. I did think, you know, obviously when the first two guys are there, you see like the guys with the car are just being weird. You're like, something's up. And I like that you couldn't figure it out really until they reveal there's the woman in the trunk, you know. That was the giveaway. But then... Yeah,
that was good build-up.
Yeah, the only thing I thought was weird was that John just like lets her walk away and she's like in lingerie. And there's no like, do you need any help or anything? John just like walks off into the darkness. That's it.
I mean, he is an asshole. So the fact that he didn't go out of his way to help her beyond getting her out of the situation and then being like, all right, you know, go that way and you'll be fine, was also kind of a bit John. But yeah, I mean, unless he only seems to go out of his way for women he knows personally from his past. Because a lot of stories have started out with, wait, is that the girl I knew like 10 years ago? And we had that one date. I must save her. You know, whereas this girl is just like, oh, random lady in the back of the truck. You know what? Your boyfriend's dead, but if you go that way, I'm sure the place will help you. Like he has absolutely no like care in the world for people he does not have a personal tie to. So I thought that was very John.
That is true, but then that is immediately contradicted in the rest of this arc when John goes to Doglick and he finds that woman tied to a tree. He's like, I'm gonna kill everybody in this town. I'm gonna kill the brothers, Richie and Dickie, and free you, girl, even though I don't know who you are.
I don't think it was like that. I think it was more the fact that they drugged him, got him involved in the shit. And then also the fact that like not only is that woman forced to do whatever it is that she did to him, around him, whatever, but, you know, so they got him involved. They pulled him in. And so getting back at them would be, okay, so if I let this woman go, that gets back at you because you can't use her anymore. Also, you fucked me over. So guess what? I'm going to fuck you over. So I think it was actually very appropriate.
They quite literally fucked him over.
Exactly. I think it was very, very appropriate in that situation for him to be like, you know what? I'm going to save her because it screws you guys.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll buy that argument. Yeah, but I will say like this story arc of Good Intentions is so weird. I did not know where the hell it was going. And then when it got to the end, I'm like, wait, what? Like, what the fuck is going on? So let's just get into that. It was
not my favorite.
Yeah. What did the setup with like Richie and Dickie? I mean, they literally start the issue 2 with Richie murdering someone.
For no reason. And the reason is his brother's like, oh yeah, he just does that sometimes. He's got a screw loose. And it's like, oh, okay. So you just leave him with people that he's not supposed to kill, and then he kills them if he feels like it. That sounds smart and a good way to do business.
So I think it seems like that at first, that it is for nothing, but I think they did reveal later in the arc that that he was stealing. He was what's that called? Skimming money off the top of their enterprise, which makes sense when you find out what the enterprise is, why they would be so angry about that. Because it's stealing money from the town.
Okay, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, they don't really do a whole thing about it because he's already dead. They just mentioned like he was not cooperating or whatever. He was skimming off the top, and just like one line or something they say.
Which, I mean, whether that's true or not, it still seems like a bad idea to leave a guy that they need with a guy who likes to kill people for little to no reason, for the slightest, what he considers an issue. It just seems like a really odd choice for his brother, Dickie, who knows that
Dickie.
Wait.
Richie and Dickie.
Dickie was Richie. Okay. Sorry. I got them so confused. Dickie's the older brother, and Richie's the messed up brother, right? Okay. So it just seems like an odd choice for Dickie to be like, hey, watch this guy, or, whatever, when he knows his brother can be set off and, kill people for, little to no reason. It's just an odd choice, especially when he's like, again, like, Richie, come on, like, why'd you kill this guy this time? Like, it's like, wait, you knew he could do this and you leave him alone with this guy? Seriously?
Yeah, a little not forward thinking on Dickie's part there.
That doesn't sound good for business either.
Yeah, murder is generally not good for business. Bodies go missing, cops or feds come in, not a good thing. But I think what he was trying to do was build these guys up so that they seemed like a really big threat. So when John does what he does and gets Dickie killed, it's like, you're like, oh yeah, it's cool. And then the big twist at the end of, they weren't bad guys. The town is a pornography ring. And everybody's volunteer. All the stuff that happened between that woman chained up and her and you and her and the dog or whatever, that was all consensual on her part. She's totally down with it because she's helping the town. Like, such a weird take on it.
That is the weirdest justification I have ever heard for messed up porn. I honestly still didn't feel bad about Dickie dying at the end. I was like, no, that's not cool. There are other ways you can help people.
Well, yeah, but they're also like straight up murderers. So like, how am I supposed to feel bad about them? Like.
Yeah. Like, they do horrible things. I don't care if the town of people is like, no, it's okay. They might murder, but they feed us and make money by doing degrading acts online for people. So we're happy that they do that and murder people sometimes. It's okay. It's like, no, that's not okay. Y'all are really weird and kind of messed up people. I'm glad John came here to sort of like mess this whole situation up. But at the same time, I kind of wish he'd never gotten involved in this, because he kind of got the shit end of the stick at the end anyway, because he both feels bad for what he did a little bit, and now and didn't even get to do what he came there for, which was to apologize to Lucky's widow, right?
Yes, that was what he said he was there for. He failed on both ends.
Yeah, so this whole side quest of, I'm going to apologize to his widow, and also I messed up this entire town's porn ring, it felt like a really weird story.
It was, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Like, especially as it was as it was revealing itself through the issues, like I'm reading one, I'm like, what the fuck? No, number two, what the fuck? Number three, what the fuck? And then like, you're just getting weirder and weirder.
And then the pig, like the demon pig or whatever, werewolf pig, whatever the heck it was, like what was the point of that too? Like, I still don't know what that was about.
I don't know either. I think the only thing I think is that it was the way that you could believe that John would be able to kill Dickie or Richie, because obviously they're very formidable people, fighting wise. So like, it was the mechanism that he wrote in so that John could kill Dickie by just, snapping his fingers and alerting the pig to their location, and having Dickie get mauled to death by the pig. So
he didn't need a weird pig to do that, though. He just got a whole prison full of people to attack each other with fingerprints. Like he didn't need there didn't need to be this weird pig thing to make that happen. I'm sure there could have been a much more subtle, easy, or less random way to get them to turn on each other, like, smudge fingerprints and make each other think that the other one is like somebody from their past, or
the guy that died at the beginning. It's the ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of a sudden he comes back and, Rich is like, I killed you. And then, wangs Dickie in the head with a crowbar or whatever. Cause he's like, you're dead. I'm going to kill you again. He seems simple enough that you could do some really easy, like trickster magic and figure that out. So, yeah. And then bringing the dog into it, man. Why would you do that? That was just.
I was going to ask, what do you think happened between John and the dog?
I don't know, man. I don't want to know. I'm honestly glad he didn't specify what happened, because I would like to believe that John just sat there and pet the dog while he was tripping out of his mind. I'm going to imagine that, because that is the easiest scenario that my brain wants to accept. And I don't want to go any darker than that, personally, because I just don't. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, I was so weird that the dog's involved in this sex ring as well as like a performer. And when you find out that the women are in on it, they volunteer every, they change places every week or month or whatever, and like take their place at the nude tree, the chained up nude tree.
I don't understand the point of that either, unless they also have a camera aimed at the tree for people to view that as well. Because that to me doesn't seem.
That's the only thing I could think too, but they don't say it. They don't say like.
It doesn't seem necessary to, like, why does she have to be chained up in between films? Like, can't she just go home and sleep and then wake up refreshed and then ready to do weird stuff again? Like, and also the implication is that, like, oh, we do this because it makes money because the world out there wants it. Like, it's not our fault. And it's like, yeah, it's your fault for making this. This is 100% your fault. You could do other things. This is not the only choice that you had.
Yeah, I mean, you can make weird stuff. It doesn't have to involve women chained up to trees and dogs.
Bestiality.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was weird all around. And then when it's revealed that like everybody's in on it, it's like, wait, so did John get sexually assaulted then? Because he was drugged. They drugged him against his will, made him participate. Originally, you thought the woman was not part of it, but now she is. So the town sexually assaulted John, basically, is what happened.
It's like everything he went through in prison to avoid that scenario still ended up happening to him, most likely. I will choose not to believe that, but I figure realistically, if they want to get the views and the likes, they probably did horrible things to John. And yeah, I have no sympathy for them at all.
Yeah, it's very weird. And then also the other thing that's weird, they just kind of throw this in, is like, oh, John knew a girl from this town back in London when he was younger named Rose, and it's Dickie's wife. And okay. They don't specify her age, but she won a spelling bee, and that's why she's in England. Which leads me to believe I don't know of spelling bees in college. So I'm like, she's in high school, I'm assuming, and definitely has sex with a 20-something John. I don't know. Well, I was like, we're going to say she's 18, even though they don't specify it, but that's fucking weird.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah, do you think that fits John's character, even if it's like old John?
I mean, I feel like the way they portrayed him, he really didn't care as long as she was hot. So either he was himself assuming that she was of age, or wait.
I will say they were in a bar, so she.
Yeah.
But 18 is the drinking
but you can
age, right?
drink. Yeah, you can drink at 18 in a bar. So she had to have been 18 unless she had a fake ID.
Okay, I mean, you could be in high school and be 18, so that's not.
Yeah.
That weird.
Although with her being a whole spelling bee champion, you'd think that means she would be smarter, therefore younger, because having like gotten further in. But you know what? Let's just assume she's 18. She's in high school. She won a spelling bee and she can drink at a bar in England.
Although I question her spelling abilities because she did not spell fellatio correctly.
Oh, I thought she did that on purpose to mess with him.
Oh, potentially. I didn't.
Because when she pokes him, because she missed the A, so I assumed that when she poked him, he would have been like, ah, and like, oh, there's the A.
Oh.
I thought it was a joke.
It probably was, but he didn't yell, so I missed that.
Yeah, they cut that off before, but I assumed that it was like inferred that it's like, oh, you missed a letter, and the letter's A, and if you were to get poked, you would go, ah. So you're like, there's the A. But they probably should have been more, forthright about that.
You picked that up. Well, I did not. I didn't get that was supposed to happen. I just thought she stabbed him. So.
Well, she did stab him, but I think she was doing it because, he's just like, can you spell fellatio? And she's like, oh, yeah, I could totally spell that. And I don't know, maybe she's used to guys trying to, pick her up. And so she's got her own version of like, not in your dreams, even though she does end up sleeping with him for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, John is what's it called? A charming motherfucker, I guess. So even in his punk days.
That is true. And since he's the lead singer, he gets all the women and leaves nothing for his bandmates.
Correct. That is what singers do. Can confirm. But yeah, like it was such a weird arc, and I thought the inclusion of Rose, I think, was just there to make it the ending like hit harder, and then like her little speech. Where she's like, you don't know how it is, John. And like, like the name of the arc is Good Intentions, because it's like John had good intentions to save this woman, but like jokes on him. He didn't realize that this town was doing it on purpose and they were all part of it. And even the girl that he loved back, or the girl that he had sex with back in the day, is part of this. She's not some innocent. She's going in with open eyes. And isn't John stupid for being like the nice guy? I thought that was quite a reach for the name of this arc to be Good Intentions, and for that to be like the point of it. Did you agree?
I thought it was referring to the fact that his initial idea of going there was just to give his condolences to the widow. So I thought that was the whole Good Intentions part of it.
I think that's it too. I think there's multiple things that are good intentions.
But yeah, overall the idea that John's good intentions, whatever layers there are to that, him trying to apologize to the widow, him like getting back at the guys for messing with him and also saving this woman, and then it being like, oh no, you messed up what the town's MO has been for however many years since, what was it, the mine closed or something?
Yeah, the mine.
I forget. So, screw you, John, for trying to be the, hero here, you asshole. It was a very weird twist, both for the title and just the story in general, to make him out to be the bad guy. Which I really don't know if we're supposed to agree that, no, he's totally the bad guy in this situation, or no, he is not the bad guy in this situation. He 100% was in the right this whole time. And how dare these people make him feel bad for what he did, concerning what they did to him.
I think it's supposed to make you think. I don't think it's supposed to like actually make a judgment on it, or like the right, like I don't think Azzarello's like, this is correct, like the way you should think about it. I think he's just positing these questions and you're supposed to like ponder them as well and go like, was he bad, was it not, were they bad? I mean, in my mind it's like pretty obvious they're bad, but I think it's kind of weak though. Like this is definitely a weird arc that I'm like, don't know what you were thinking quite with this one. Yeah,
whatever the like heavy hitting message behind this is supposed to be does not seem to have come off the way he as straightforward as maybe he was trying to be, or if he was trying to be vague, it's very vague. It's very vague and weird. And I will agree that the whole idea of trying to do something good, or at least your motivations are supposedly in the right place. Him wanting to save the girl, even if it was just to piss the guys off, and him wanting to kill the guys for revenge to free the girl or whatever. I do agree that the sort of horror behind that of trying to do something good and it being like either the wrong choice or just there was no good choice to make here is very like horror-esque. Just that feeling of like kindness not being, being kind to someone blows up in your face, or, trying to help someone and they stab you to death or something, like that sort of feeling of I try to do something good and the most horrible thing that could possibly happen happens. I do like that idea of flipping that idea of every time you try to do something good, it goes wrong, which I guess is very John-ish. He tries to do something good and it usually doesn't. It might turn out okay for him, but there's usually fallout around him because of those choices. So that fits the theme. It was just really weirdly done.
It was really weirdly done, and I'm not sure it sticks the landing. But with that being said, that's the first two arcs in Azzarello's run. What do you think so far of Azzarello?
Should give a thumbs up to the prison arc, and then probably a thumbs down to this one.
Okay, so we're 1 for 1. Yeah, I would also do that. If it just maintained, like if it was just about him hitchhiking for 6 issues to wherever, wherever he was going, like to Lucky's wife, I would have loved that arc. Because him hitchhiking was fantastic in that first issue. But
yeah, if they'd kept that on with just sort of like weird situation he finds himself in because of the hitchhiking. I mean, we've seen that he has tried hitchhiking before and it has not turned out in his favor. Right. With that priest or whatever.
Yeah.
So this version of it, where he is in fact the guy messing with the driver, I thought that was hilarious. And it didn't necessarily turn out bad for that guy, because he left him and he was like, "Hey, by the way, don't pick up strangers." I thought that was a really good way to impart a lesson on this unassuming stranger.
Yeah, I love that like reveal when he's talking to that guy and he's like, I was for murder. Like, it just makes me laugh, the guy's face. It reminded me of Tiny Toons, How I Spent My Summer Vacation, where they're like picking hitchhikers up, and it's like
yes,
serial killers and stuff.
The pork massacre or something, whatever his name was. The raving lunatic.
Yeah, where it's like the radio guy's like, the murderer has escaped. We have reports he is wearing a green baseball hat. He has scraggly black hair, and like Plucky's looking at him and like matching everything. Yeah,
and then he's like, and blue tennis shoes, and he looks down and they're red. He's like, oh, phew. Like, no, wait, sorry, they're red tennis shoes.
He's like, oh my god.
And they're like, and if he sees any pig products, he goes struck raving mad.
Yes. That was such a funny.
Porky and his family. Oh man, that was such a great part of that movie.
Yeah. It was good
yes,
times.
I could totally see John being that character.
Yes. Yeah, just the guy sitting in the driver's seat, and I was like, so what do you do? He's like, I murdered someone. He's like, oh my god, like I've hired
I just got out of prison. Do you know what it's like to see the life fade from someone's eyes?
I've picked someone up. I've made a bad mistake.
Oh, man. The way he tortured that guy. I mean, I would 100% also probably shit myself in that situation. But then the fact that he leaves that guy unmolested and just goes on his way was peak John.
Yeah, so I really liked that issue. So it wasn't, that arc wasn't all bad. The first issue was pretty awesome.
No, you're right. That was probably the best issue in the whole 2 storylines that we did.
So that's it. Did I miss anything that you wanted to talk about?
Well, did you have a favorite cover in between these 2 arcs?
I will say I love Tim Bradstreet, and I think that he does a great job. But because all of these have like their own motif for each arc, and all of them kind of repeat that, there's nothing that really stood out because they all kind of just like flow together. So the one I'm going to pick is the one I found funniest, which is the one, I think it's Hellblazer 154, where it's got John and the Mastiff on the front. And it's because right as that issue, you realize like it's like what John finds out what happened on the videotape. And so he's like petting the dog and it looks like they're buddies on the cover, but inside it's like, no, him and that dog were not exactly buddies, maybe fuck buddies, but
or maybe they were very good. Yeah, maybe they were very good buddies, just not in the way you think.
Yeah. So that made me laugh after I read the issue and then saw that cover again. I was like, oh, that is a dirty cover, you dirty fuckers.
Unassuming and yet horrifying.
Yeah. What did you have a favorite cover?
I liked the prose issue, so the very first that dual storyline. I thought that was really gorgeous.
The painted one where the hand's like reaching out behind him.
Yeah, I thought that was just so pretty and so ethereal and creepy. I really liked that one. And then I actually did like the last Good Intentions issue with him and all the like flowery vine stuff where he's kind of just like fading into it like Homer into like the bush.
Yeah.
But it's like a really pretty artistic version of that of that moment. So I thought that one was really, really, really aesthetically pleasing. So I'd say those two are my favorite.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Those are good ones too. The dog one I had to mention just because it was too good.
The inside joke after you read
Yes.
the issue is very powerful. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I did like that single, the Vertigo Secret Files issue cover as well. So it was a toss up. But one thing I did want to mention before we go. So I kind of like, I don't remember if I told you before or not, but I'll just say it publicly now on this. I've heard that Brian Azzarello did not actually like he had already written these scripts for something else as just like either standalone stories or just cool ideas he had for a series. And then he like put John in them when he got this job.
Oh.
So that I've heard that about like, maybe that's why John feels like an insert into some of these stories that are going on. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's true or not, but people do say that about Azzarello's run is that all of these are like scenario issues that like he just had like written or like thoughts of like had already thought of. And then it was like, oh, we want you to write Hellblazer. He's like, oh, I'll throw John into these scenarios.
I could see that. It also kind of feels like that one, what was it, Hellraiser 4, where it was the detective. Was it 4 or 5? Where there's a detective trying to figure out where all these murders are, and then Pinhead doesn't show up until the very end.
I think that's 6.
Was it 6? Okay. Well, it felt like that movie where the story was sort of like fashioned to fit in the Hellraiser world, but maybe it wasn't originally a Hellraiser story, and then they just sort of throw Pinhead in there to solidify it in the
that's number 6.
lore.
Number 6 was I think it's Deader is the name of it, was written already, and then they're like, what if Pinhead shows up at the end and then we call it Hellraiser 6?
So if that is what happened with these stories, and these were all just sort of like, hey, what if there was like a guy in prison, and hey, what if there was a guy who went to this weird ass town where they do weird shit? Oh, but then let's throw John in there. I could see that fitting. He probably tweaked it a little bit just so John fits in the world and the world accepts him as well. Like with the magic, like maybe the magic wasn't part of it, but that was also thrown in there. But yeah, if that's true, I could see it being true.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. I don't know if Azzarello has ever confirmed that or not. It does seem to fit, like just compared to like other runs where it seems like John is very much a part of this stuff. That it is like, what would John do in this crazy scenario? And it's like, oh, I could see the scenario or having already been thought of, Azzarello being like, I'm going to put John in here and see what that does, to the story. So I don't think he like had these stories already written and it was like, oh, this is, although, okay, I will say this, a little bit of a spoiler, but like S.A. Manor, is called that. Like the guy's name is called that because originally, I guess in the story he had thought of, it was going to be like a Batman story, and it was going to be like stately Wayne Manor or whatever, something like that. So I'm just like, I guess if like, that's what I read on Reddit. So I don't know if any of that's true, but if this was supposed to be a Batman story, what the fuck kind of a Batman story was this supposed to be?
So Batman goes to prison, and then Batman ends up in a weird pornography town. Like, okay.
Yes. So yeah, I don't really know. There's one arc. It's the next arc actually. That people are like, this is classic John. Like this is Azzarello writing a John story. So we'll see what you think about that when we get to there. But I will say, like most people are judging this run on that idea. I don't know if it's true or not, though.
I could see it being true, or I could also just see it being him trying to figure out new ways to stretch John into uncomfortable places.
Yeah. Also, like, how do you? I mean, Garth Ennis wrote before him, right? So it's like, if Garth Ennis is up in the ante of like, what the fuck, moments. At a certain point, you just he fucks a dog or whatever, like whatever happened, we don't know on that tape, but like, or a dog fucked him or a dog, whatever, like him and a dog fucked a lady, whatever happened on that tape. It is him like trying to up the ante from the great writers that have already like gone before him. I mean, Warren Ellis is also a kind of edgelord guy who would put John in crazy situations. He just didn't get to write John for very long. So, but I mean, he was putting him in crazy situations. So, I think this fits. I just think this story was one of the weaker stories of John in crazy situations.
I agree. It didn't feel as cohesive as some of the others have. Not to say that every story in every run has been perfect, but if this is his weak link, I mean, it's not the worst. It's just weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how the whole run progresses, but that's just a rumor I heard that he, had these stories already formed and then added John after the fact. So, we'll see. But yeah, so next time I think we'll do the next two story arcs. I think it's Freezes Over and something else. I can't remember what they are, but actually let me double check while I'm looking, while I got it up on the screen. Let's see. We got Freezes Over, which is issues 157 to 161, and then there's a 2-issue arc. So yeah, there's a 2-issue arc after that. So we will stop at 163. So we'll read 157 to 163.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and yeah. So with that, we will see you guys on the next one.
See you next time.
Bye.